nice beaver.
Thank you. I just had it stuffed.
Let me help you with that. What? Ain't you never seen a beaver popcorn bucket before?
Once you kill a man for revenge, there's no going back. A voice in your head sang over and over. That was awesome.
Who are you?
Drebin. Detective Frank Drebin. Thanks.
This week on Talking About the Movies, one of the greatest comedies of all time, in this humble reviewer's opinion, gets a reboot for a new generation as Liam Neeson stars as Frank Drebin Jr. in the remake of The Naked Gun. We have that for you, and
it hasn't been easy with a reputation like ours.
You want to work at a bank?
Why not? Some of my best memories are at banks.
You robbed us 3 times.
Duh. That was this bank?
The bad guys are back in a new sequel to the Dreamworks animated 2022 hit, this time being joined by a group of bad girls for The Bad Guys 2, a double feature this week to kick off a brand new month of movies coming your way right here on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies, and considering that one of our 2 movies is a reboot of one of my favorite movies of all time, you're damn right we're doing a special intro for this one. Yeah, this thing's pretty awesome. If you didn't see my Movie Stuff episode, you missed out on when I opened this up. Of course, nice beaver from, of course, the original Naked Gun. This is, of course, for the new one, which you can get at AMC theaters. And like I said, who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want that opened up? The cup I had, too, was pretty cool. I finally was able to get that to work. If you didn't see the update video, let me just go ahead and show you. Yeah, finally got this to work. But as you can tell, today we are taking a look at the new Naked Gun, starring Liam Neeson in the role of Frank Drebin Jr. And I would do an entire show dedicated to this movie right here, but let me go ahead and turn this off, because that's going to get distracting pretty quickly. But in addition to the Naked Gun, we have the Bad Guys 2. And like I said, I would have done a full-length episode tribute to the Naked Gun, considering the original is my favorite comedy of all time. But considering that we also have the Bad Guys 2, you can obviously tell why we're not going to do that this time around. As we continue my 20-year celebration of me covering the biggest new releases of the weekend, we are taking a look at this weekend's 2 big new releases. Of course, the Bad Guys 2, but first, the Naked Gun. So, of course, the Naked Gun is something that I've talked about in length on this channel, and as I said before, the original Naked Gun is what I consider to be the greatest comedy of all time. It's a movie that every time I watch it, it's so hilarious, it's so funny, it's something that I have to watch every single time all the way through. I can quote these movies pretty much. I love these movies so much. I love the deadpan style humor of Leslie Nielsen in general. I think the series as a whole is maybe the greatest comedy trilogy of all time when you really think about it. And as I mentioned, the first one is a classic movie, Leslie Nielsen playing that role so well. Of course, this was based off a short-lived series that ran in 1982, shortly after the Jerry Zucker, J. Mary Abrams came up with Airplane, and didn't last very long, lasted 6 episodes, but found a life through videotapes, and that's why we got the first Naked Gun movie. Sequels aren't as good, but they're still really, really funny. I especially love how the second one makes all these callbacks to the original Police Squad TV series. Like, if you watch the TV series and then watch the second one, you can catch a lot of different things from that particular movie. Characters, jokes that they used in that series that are brought into the movies. I mean, that is a movie that's worth it on its own merits. 33 1/3, like I said, probably the weakest of the series, but still really, really funny stuff. I mean, that movie is just so well done. These movies are still very funny, even after all these years. Like I said, man, they're my favorite comedies of all time. I've gone into detail about these movies, how much I love them, which if you want to go check that out, you can check it out with the link in the corner. But we're talking about this new Naked Gun movie, and they've been trying to get this movie made for a long, long time, and obviously, when you remake one of my favorite movies of all time, naturally, I'm going to get a lot of concerns about the movie going forward, and yeah, it looked like this movie was going to go through some rough patches. They had people coming in here that really didn't feel like they kind of fit the mold of what the Naked Gun movies were going to be, even though they're good people. Like, I know there was one version where Ed Helms was going to star in it, playing the son of Frank Jr., but it was written by the guys who did Reno 911, and the idea was that, okay, these guys know how to do comedy with Reno 911, that type of comedy centering around cops in general, so maybe there's a chance here, but that project never really went anywhere, and, they've been trying to develop this one for so many points in so many different points in time, and then Seth MacFarlane came on board to develop the project, and if you know Seth MacFarlane all too well, you know that he's a guy that loves these type of comedies. I mean, for God's sakes, when you watch Family Guy, that type of humor that's in the original Police Squad and the Naked Gun is all throughout that movie. So that gave me a little bit of hope of him coming on board, because really, if this was a guy that could easily is going to look at this and go like, okay, this is one of my favorite. You can tell that he loves this series of films, and he knows he's not going to fuck this up in any way, shape, or form. So he knew what he was doing when he was putting this together. Casting Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin Jr., which he had worked before on A Million Ways to Die in the West and Ted 2, both very funny roles in films that were lesser of what Seth MacFarlane's film credits before that were kind of with. And he's got not only that, but you have Akiva Schaffer of The Lonely Island. So you have two very different comedic settings and styles coming together in this particular movie, and you have to wonder, okay, you have two different comedy styles here. The biggest question overall with the film is, can you bring back the spoof movie genre? Because for you folks out there who don't know, who really don't have an idea of what spoof movies used to be about, because your idea of a spoof movie is the Jason Freeberg, Aaron Seltzer movies, I'm sorry that you're under the age of 20, and I pity what's going to happen to you in a couple of weeks when you try to log onto YouTube with that whole thing about, determining whether or not you're under 18 that they're trying out. But back in the day, back before Freeberg and Seltzer kind of ruined the spoof movie genre, we had movies like Airplane and Top Secret and the Naked Gun movies and Hot Shots, movies that were not afraid to be funny and also take it to some elements where you'd be pushing your luck here, going a little bit too offensive for your own good. Like, there'll be some jokes that'll be dated, but at the time they were very funny. Like, one of the best examples, Naked Gun 33 and the Third, that great opening with the Untouchable sequence has a line from somebody going like, "Oh my God, disgruntled postal workers!" Like, some of you don't know what that means back in the day. That means today, but back in the day, that was a whole thing where postal workers were getting so upset and so pissed off that they were going around shooting at the post offices, like mass shootings, that type of stuff. That's jokes like that. That's stuff that's very much a relic of their time, but they're still really funny when they're played very well, and the actors are playing it straightforward. The great thing about the original Naked Gun movies is that everybody was playing it seriously, knowing how stupid they were doing, what they were doing, and Leslie Nielsen was the king at that. Leslie Nielsen was the guy who basically nailed it to a T when he did it with Airplane, and then when they brought him back for the Police Squad show, and then later for the Naked Gun movies. He never lost a beat when he played Frank Drebin. I mean, this is a guy that took this role, made it as great as he did, and eventually, it worked throughout the course of 3 great films in general. And the whole thing is just like everyone tried to copy that success once the Naked Gun was the big hit. You had stuff like Repossessed and Spy Hard, and 2001: A Space Travesty, Mr. Magoo, and everyone realized that, I mean, as much as Leslie Nielsen's trying to save these movies, you got to give him some good material to work with here. And Leslie Nielsen was game no matter what. I mean, that's the one thing you got to give Leslie Nielsen a lot of credit for. Like, he was game when he was playing these roles, even though they weren't great overall. He was trying his best to save the projects overall, and he continued to do that when Zucker reunited with him with the Scary Movie films and superhero movie, which, in my personal opinion, Scary Movies 3 and 4 are the better Scary Movie films than 1 and 2. I mean, 1 and 2 aren't bad, but because I love that Zucker style of comedy, I like Scary Movie 3 and 4. Especially, I really do like Superhero Movie 2 as well. But I bring this up because, now you have a new cast that features Leslie Nielsen playing the younger son, the son of Frank Drebin Jr., Frank Drebin, I should say. Frank Drebin Jr. is his name. And I just want to get something right off the bat here, because I'm seeing this online, and I think people need to take this and really need to, what am I trying to say here? People need to realize this before eventually they go into this movie. This tweet's going around saying that Liam Neeson is playing the son of the son of of this character from Naked Gun 33 and a third, but he's playing this character from Naked Gun 33 and a third, and technically it's not true, because that's a dream sequence in the Naked Gun 33 and a third. It's not even a dream sequence; it's just a fantasy sequence about what Frank dreamed his life would be, when they got married and all that, and that was originally supposed to be stuff that was supposed to be for the second film. And then they eventually put it into the third film. I mean, you hear that in the commentary for 33 and a third. A lot of that stuff, like from the fantasy sequences and even the Untouchable sequence, was filmed for the second movie, but then later used for the third film. So I just want to clear that out of the way before we get too out of hand here. But the plot here really is not really that complex. You have Liam Neeson as Lieutenant Frank Drebin Jr., who must succeed in his father's footsteps to prevent the closure of Police Squad when he faces up against kind of an Elon Musk type of villain played by Danny Houston, and his sidekick played by Kevin Durant. You also have characters like Captain Ed Hawkins Jr., played by Paul Walter Hauser, the Chief of Police, played very well by CCH Pounder, some detectives played by Liza Koshy, Buster Rhymes plays a bank robber, Cody Rhodes plays a bartender, but besides Liam Neeson, the other big star in this movie is Pamela Anderson, playing the love interest of Frank Drebin's character in the movie, who is trying to get revenge for the death of his brother caused by Danny Houston's character. And right from the get-go, the minute the movie begins, it starts off feeling like a modern cop movie, but as soon as you see the device in the movie, that's literally the PLOT device, plot device, you're in for a treat right from the get-go. It's just like, okay, they've got the right idea here. The movie is absolutely brilliant. It's an incredibly funny movie. It's brilliant at its stupidity. Like, this is one of the stupidest movies you could possibly see in a theater, or anywhere point whatsoever, and that's the beauty of it. This is what the Naked Gun, not just the Naked Gun, but spoof movies, this is what they're all about. This is what you do with a spoof movie. It's not just blatant pop culture references that are just the crux of the jokes. This isn't like a Freeburg-Seltzer movie by any means necessary. This is going back to the basics. It's the type of movie that knows it's stupid, but because everybody is playing it so straight to the point and just making it work all around, the movie is working, and it just leads to a ton of great, hilarious moments in here. Liam Neeson as Frank Drebin. I mean, let's be honest. Liam Neeson is a great actor. I mean, he's shown it in the past, not just as a great dramatic actor, but he can be very funny, too. Largely thanks to what Seth MacFarlane's been able to do with him, but he's also been in some comedies where he's been very good too, like the Lego Movie, playing the cop in that film. He's been in a lot of good stuff. A lot of good movies he's in, he usually is very good. He's never usually the problem with the movie in general, and in a film like this, it's weird because he and Leslie Nielsen seem like their careers kind of took a similar path, sort of. I mean, Liam Neeson's career hasn't really completely fallen off, like kind of Leslie Nielsen's career. Not even then. I won't even say that, because Leslie Nielsen did have a couple movies between Airplane and The Naked Gun that were successful movies for him, like Creep Show. He was great in that movie. I liked him in Wrong is Right. I thought that was pretty good. He was good in Soul Man, but there was that. Liam Neeson isn't the big draw that he was before. I mean, this is literally 10 years after Taken 3 came out, which really kind of seemed like kind of the end of that action cycle where he was like the big draw and he was always going to be box office gold. And at that point, after that, he kind of like moved into this like movie retirement home at Briarcliff Entertainment, where most of his movies have been out. At one time, it's an occasional have something from Lionsgate, but for the most part, he really has not been that draw he's been in a long time. And for a movie like this to come back out to show that, hey, this guy still has a lot of potential and a lot of talent, his line readings and the way that he plays it so deadpan and so spot on is perfect for lines and jokes that may not work in a normal sense, but because this movie is doing such a good job at it, like there's a great one early on where, there's this huge thing that they're building up to, and the punchline is that, Linus is just like, I still couldn't get over the Janet Jackson Super Bowl Nipplegate thing, and CCH Pounder as the chief is just like, that was 20 years ago, and Liam Neeson was just like, not to me it wasn't, and just like lines like that. The jokes in this movie build up so well, and they work because the actors are so game. They're so ready to make you laugh with it, and it's just spot on. It's just great spot on stuff. Everybody in this cast is really good. Paul Walter Hauser, yet another great role for him this year. I mean, he's having a big breakout year. Michael Larson in The Luckiest Man in America. He was actually really good last week in Fantastic Four: First Steps. And here he has another great movie to his list here, and he's just pouring them on, man. This guy is going to be a great actor in the future. Like I said, CCH Pounder gets a lot of really good funny moments. There's a great running gag with her husband. Like, every time you see her husband on screen, it's always like he's always asleep, even when they're not in the bedroom. Like, when in the climax, they show up to the stadium, and he's still in his pajamas and the blindfold. It's just like, that's great stuff. Like, that's what you think of when you think of Naked Gun style humor. And there's a lot of good stuff in this movie. Great lines that you hear in the trailer, but there's also a lot of good stuff that's not in the trailer. The line, the moment everyone remembers from that trailer was when, Leslie Nielsen is talking to the picture of Leslie Nielsen's talking to the picture of Leslie Nielsen, his father, and he's just like, "Hey, Daddy, I miss you, love you." And of course, it follows with Ed going up to his father, George Kennedy, and doing the same thing, and then it goes to that great joke about Nordberg, and the Nordbergs going up there, going like, "Hey, Dad," and then the camera just goes like, like. And that's the last time you see him in the movie. That's the only OJ joke they make in this movie. And some people would like to see him do more of that, but I don't know. I thought once was enough. I mean, that's the best joke you can do. And really, I don't think you're going to get any better than that. And, again, the jokes in here just are so well done. There's a great one with a crane early on. There's a crane where they're trying to pull this car out of this river, this drainage, and it's like a crane machine. Like they're watching it, just like, oh, we're gonna get it, and then they get it, and then the car just falls to the ground. They're just like, like that type of stuff. And then there's that great bit where there's a great running gag where they're always holding up grabbing a cup of coffee and then just throwing it down in various places. And, like, they'll be getting these coffees, and it'll just happen at random points. Like, Liam Neeson will be driving, and, a guy will come up to him and just give him one, and it's just like, thanks. And then towards the end, like, there's the big climax where Liam Neeson is up in the air, and then just out of nowhere, a guy with a coffee cup will show up and give it to him. Just like, hey, thanks, man. It's just like, this is spot on, right what you expect from a Naked Gun movie. I mean, Liam Neeson is great in here, but I also want to talk about Pamela Anderson, who is really having a great comeback story right now. I mean, last year she proved that she was still good. She could still be a really good actress with The Last Showgirl, which sadly not enough people have gotten to see. Seek that movie out if you want to see somebody who really is on the cusp of making a comeback in the near future. I mean, you can watch that on Hulu. I highly recommend checking it out. And she kind of got overshadowed because of people like Demi Moore, and it was a really tough year in the Best Actress category at the Oscars. Mikey Madsen, of course, was great in Anora, and Ariana Grande in Wicked. I mean, it was just a really packed year for good performances in that category, and it's a shame that Pamela Anderson didn't get nominated for that, because in this movie, she definitely shows that she can play well with Liam Neeson in the same vein that Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley worked off each other so well. You do buy their chemistry. You do buy the fact that these two do have a romantic relationship building between them. Like, you see them nowadays, and there's these rumors that they're dating, and you can see why these two have a lot of good chemistry together, because they work off each other so well, and they are able to match each other's acting performances to a T. Like, it's funny because Pamela Anderson was actually originally supposed to be in the third Naked Gun movie playing the Anna Nicole Smith character, and of course she didn't get that. But I mean, talk about a great return to form for her to come back in this. I mean, she was really funny in this movie and worked out well with Liam Neeson, especially with some of the great jokes like you see in the trailer. The whole bit with the sort of an Austin Powers-esque type joke where, you know, the bad guy's assistant, played by Kevin Durant, is watching them through night vision, and, you know, you see the scene where Liam Neeson's just standing in his kitchen, and Pamela Anderson's cleaning the oven. It looks like she's giving him a blowjob, and it cuts to her cleaning the oven. It's just like, this oven is disgusting, and that thing just continues to build and build and build, and again, it's a great Naked Gun style joke. I mean, that's the type of jokes you expect in a Naked Gun movie. You have these two people who are have very different styles of comedy in Seth MacFarlane and Akiva Schaffer, both from Seth MacFarlane, The Family Guy, and The Lonely Island, and they know they're not just going to bring their simple comedy into this. They're going to do what makes a good Naked Gun style comedy work, and that's having this storyline taken so seriously while having all this ridiculous stuff happening in the background. There's a lot of jokes in this movie that you really need to pay attention to, and cameos you got to pay attention to. Like, you see the stuffed beaver from the first Naked Gun movie is seen in a blink and you'll miss it cameo when they go to the bar area that the bad guy owns. You know, there's a cameo by Priscilla Presley in the movie as Jane, and I did not realize that until later on down the road. I'm thinking, because when I saw it, it was just like, was that supposed to be what I thought that was? I thought there was going to be more of a bigger scene with her, and unfortunately, that's the only scene she's in here. And I'll get to some of the kind of, not really negatives, but mostly kind of nitpicks that I have with the movie in general. But overall, what makes this movie work, I think, that not a lot of people really are talking about, not just Liam Neeson, not just Pam Anderson, not the fact that the comedy is so good, not because everybody's spot on, but again, it goes back to the producer, Seth MacFarlane. Because like I said before, Seth MacFarlane, you could tell that he loves this Zucker style of humor, and you see it on Family Guy all the time, not just with the Naked Gun movies, but with Airplane. He's parodied both of them in the show, and you could tell that once he got involved in this, he knew, like, he could not fuck this up. Like, this is like, he knew that he knows the Naked Gun well enough to know what needs to be in here, what needs to not be in here. I mean, the movie is literally the same length as the other Naked Gun movies. I mean, when's the last time you had a movie of this caliber be under 90 minutes long? I mean, that's a rarity now in Hollywood. And the fact that they let him do this and let him do what they needed to do, and it worked as well as it did, I give nothing but praise to them. They did a very good job of handling that. Like I said, there are a couple of little nitpicky things I have with here, and they're real nitpicky things, because there is a lot of this movie that I did just admire. Like, I love the music too. I forgot to mention the music in here. The music by Lauren Balfe, who has become really kind of one of those underrated composers, but he's done a lot of great stuff coming from, you know, he came from Hans Zimmer's production company, and, you know, he's gone on to become this great composer on his own merits. He's done a lot of action sequels as well, you know, the Bad Boys movies, Black Widow, Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F, and of course he started his career with a lot of Dreamworks movies, and he does a very good job with the music in here, creating the Naked Gun theme for a new generation. But with that said, like I said, there are nitpicky things, starting with the music in particular. Not for it itself, but something that I kind of was hoping would be in here, but sadly is not. One of the things that I was kind of a little disappointed not to see in the movie, unfortunately, was I wanted to see a new version of the opening intro to the Naked Gun. You know, the scene where the police car is driving off the road and just going all of these different places. I really thought that they were going to throw that in there, but the movie doesn't have that, sadly, and I was a little bummed by that. I was really hoping that we get that. I was hoping that, you know, because you got that opening title with the fire and all that, and they were about to put the title up there, and it's the Naked G, and then the guy realized, oh crap, and I thought they were going to just go ahead and jump into the Naked Gun theme song, and they don't do that, unfortunately. They do have it in here. They do have it at the end of the movie, where I do like they have the little callbacks to the original Police Squad series, you know, the epilogues where the credits would roll, and you would have Leslie Nielsen and Alan North, who played Ed Hawken in those, along with the rest of the Police Squad in freeze frame, even though you can still see them like trying to like do it themselves and not an actual freeze frame. Like, they'll be talking and then they'll do a laugh. They'll be like, ha ha, and then they'll just do this throughout the entire thing without trying to move and all that. Like, they do that in here. They do have a little fun twist with that at the end where, you know, Liam Neeson and Pam Anderson are doing the freeze frame, and then slowly but surely they start to realize that everyone else is completely frozen and they're not, and they're wondering, and they're having this existential crisis, like, what the hell is going on here? Like, that was funny. That was some good funny stuff. And you do get some of the classic Naked Gun end credits, where you look and see like all the different like fake names and like specific things, like there was a section about set decorating, and there's a set dresser, and then there's dressings like rants, vinegar, vinaigrette. Not as many as I would have expected, but they are in there. So there is at least some callbacks in there. I did kind of hope that there was going to be an opening title sequence just like we had in the other movies, but I mean, it's not a big deal, but I was just kind of expecting that. And also, I was, like I said before, you see Priscilla Presley in here as Frank's mother, Jane, of course, Jane from the original Naked Gun movies, and it's literally a blink and you'll miss it, and you won't even know it's her at first. And I really was watching that sequence where she's in there watching. It's like she's literally there for a split second, and it is just kind of like, I mean, it's a thing where it's just like, it's cool that they got her back in here, because she really is kind of the only person left of the original Naked Gun cast that's still alive at this point. I mean, Leslie Nielsen's been gone for a long time, so is George Kennedy. O.J. Simpson, of course, is no longer with us. Even the villains are gone now. Robert Goulet, Ricardo Montalban, Fred Ward, Kathleen Freeman, Anna Nicole Smith. Like, she's the Highlander of this group. It's just like, there could be only one, and that's Priscilla Presley. But, I mean, I don't know. I was maybe kind of expecting a little bit more of a scene with her and Frank Drebin Jr. having a conversation or something like that. It couldn't even. I mean, it wouldn't. It was just a little longer scene that she actually is in. Not like a huge supporting performance in here. I think that would have worked fine. Kind of do something like you did with the Vacation reboot, where Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo come back for a little bit in the third act of that movie, which was not great, but it was cool seeing them back again. But I did think it was actually kind of funny how they brought in Leslie Nielsen's character, but it's not really him, but like something that Liam Neeson said when he was looking at his picture, and the whole thing was like, he said something about, give me a sign, show up as an owl or something, and then at the end, when the crazy stuff happens, he sees an owl, and it's supposed to be Leslie Nielsen, and even though it's not him in any way, shape, or form, it's just him as this owl. I thought that was absolutely hilarious and well done. I thought that was a pretty good way to do kind of a tribute to Leslie Nielsen's character, Leslie Nielsen, but not make it him in particular. I thought that was actually a very funny way of putting him in that movie, and yeah, that's a good way to do it. I like the Dave Bautista cameo too, where he shows up really out of the blue for no particular reason. I thought that was really well done towards the end. A lot of the cameos overall here were pretty funny. They were very well done. And like I said, it's the movie itself. And the movie itself is great. And like I said, the stuff I disagreed with are just mostly nitpicky things. This movie overall is a ton of fun. It's an incredibly fun film. It's a film that just works. It's hilarious. It's well done. The cast is great. The people who made this movie knew exactly what they were doing. They didn't have anybody coming in and telling you how to make your spoof films. This is the way to do it. This is how you do The Naked Gun. This is how you do spoof comedy in general. And I'm hoping that this movie succeeds so we can get more films like this in the future. No more movies like Date Movie, Disaster Movie, Epic Movie, Meet the Spartans. No more of that. More films like The Naked Gun. So, yeah. I think you can pretty much get an indication of what I'm giving this movie. Thumbs up. Big thumbs up. See this movie. It's definitely worth it. It's one of the best comedies. It's one of the best comedies I've seen in a long time. Maybe my favorite comedy of the year. I think One of Them Days is right up there, but this may be close. I mean, it's that close right now. But I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to watch it again soon. The Naked Gun, man, is back, and I can't believe I got a chance to see this in a theater. Which I'll say this though, I saw this at an early morning screening. And there were people in the movie theater, but for some reason, they weren't laughing as much as I was. I don't know if it was just a bad crowd or the fact that they were going in so early in the morning at 10 a.m., which I went to go see this movie at. I don't know. Maybe I just needed to see it later in the daytime with a more packed audience who was game for it. But there were not a lot of people laughing at this one, surprisingly. I don't know if it was just a bad audience or what, but I really hope that people are really buying into this, because this is a really, really good movie, and I can't recommend this one enough. I've gone off for, like 25 minutes now talking about how much I like this movie, and that should be enough to tell you to go check this movie out. So that's my thoughts on The Naked Gun. Now, when we come back, we'll take a look at the other big new release of the weekend. That's The Bad Guys 2, and we'll look at that right after these messages, or this message right here. Not even a message, but some of the movies now playing in theaters. How about that? Here's a look at some films now playing at a theater near you. And welcome back. Of course, The Naked Gun is not the only big new comedy coming out this weekend. We have another big comedy coming out based off of a movie that came out a couple years ago. That was one of the year's biggest surprises. That is, of course, The Bad Guys, Dreamworks Animation's movie, which you have Sam Rockwell, Mark Maron, Craig Robinson, Anthony Ramos, and Awkwafina as these animals who were known as being criminals and try to become good guys, and they eventually do become that at the end of the movie, trying to become, essentially good civilians. And, you had all these great characters that were around them. This great cop played by Alex Borstein, this girlfriend of Sam Rockwell's character played by Zazie Beetz, very well done, and just a lot of good fun stuff all over it. The animation was top-notch. It was a really good movie and just showed that DreamWorks' second renaissance was in full swing because, you had this, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken, Dogman, Kung Fu Panda 4, The Wild Robot. They have been on a roll since 2011 with very few bad films, like Spirit Untamed, Trolls Band Together. Trolls Band Together wasn't even a bad movie. Spirit Untamed probably was their worst overall animated film. And I guess if you want to include live-action films, How to Train Your Dragon wasn't that great either. But The Bad Guys 2, it sees them once again back as they come out of retirement and join forces with an all-female criminal squad played by Danielle Brooks, Maria Bakalova, and Natasha Lyonne, who try to perform at least one last heist. And if you love the first Bad Guys movie, then I think you're going to really enjoy the second one, because there is a lot here to admire about this film, and it is another really good, solid DreamWorks sequel. DreamWorks is usually very good when it comes to their sequels. There have been some ones that have been better than the original. Shrek 2 comes to mind, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Kung Fu Panda 2, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and then there's been sequels that have been pretty good for the most part. Madagascar 2, what was another one? What was another? Didn't they do another second one? Now I gotta look. I really didn't want to have to, but I gotta kind of gotta look here. Where is it? There's the list. Any other ones that I'm missing here? I mean, the Trolls sequels are okay, I guess, but the Trolls movies in general is one of those franchises that never really lives up to that full potential that you think that they're going to have. But other than that, though, Boss Baby Family Business, the Boss Baby movies are not that great either. I think there has not been most of their sequels overall have been pretty good. And The Bad Guys is another one of those movies that has a really solid sequel to it. It's not a film that does the same script all over again. That was something I was kind of worried about, because they kind of rushed this one into production more than other sequels that have been in development for a long time. Like How to Train Your Dragon was one where there was a number of years between sequels. The Kung Fu Panda movies in particular are an example of movies that come out over a longer period of time. Like I think there was that 3-year gap for Kung Fu Panda 2, then the 5-year gap for Kung Fu Panda 3, and then the 8-year gap for Kung Fu Panda 4. But then this one you have it in 3 years. It's been a long time since we had a DreamWorks animated movie with a sequel coming 3 years after the original film, which is usually right where you want to make a sequel at. And I don't think this movie really kind of ups the ante in terms of what the first movie did, but it doesn't really have to, really, because the first movie was just so much chaotic fun, and this movie is just as fun and then some. Like, you really don't mind it overall. You do like sticking around with these characters. They are a ton of fun. They're all voiced by really good actors in here. The animation is still really good. You do like the setup that they have in here, where you have this all-female criminal squad that wants them to join them on this last heist, and, it leads to a lot of really great moments, including the great scene at the end with the spaceship. I mean, there is a lot of stuff to admire about the overall animation and the tone of the film. And yeah, it would be nice if they took it to the next level and make it something unique and different, but they really don't have to do it in this case. I think there is really a lot there to look at and say, like, this is still just as enjoyable of what I loved about the first movie. The first movie was a solidly fun-made film overall, And there's some stuff that I kind of was interested. I was kind of intrigued that they didn't go down that route. Like, there's the main character by Zazie Beetz, Diane. You know, there's this whole thing about there's this whole there was this whole thing when they were working on the movie that she was actually somebody that used to be a part of this group that's asking the bad guys to come in and so do this thing, and they took it out of the movie. And I kind of would have liked to have seen what would have happened if they had brought that in there. Like, I would have liked to have seen them do something similar to there's a great Simpsons episode they did not too long ago where Chief Wiggum's wife, who's played by Megan Mullally, is brought back in by these other girls that she had worked with in the past to plan this jewel heist, and Marge is involved in here, and she gets involved in it, and it's a really fun episode, and it has a lot of really good animation in that one too. I would have liked to see him gone down that path and do something with the same type of mentality in this movie, but it doesn't really seem to go down that route just enough. I think it doesn't really add more story to add more of an interesting hook to the story, like a Kung Fu Panda 2 did, or How to Train Your Dragon 2 did, where they upped the ante overall. But in the case of the Bad Guys 2, I don't think they really need to do that, because stick with what was working, and I think what has been working for this has been working pretty solidly. I mean, they don't really elevate this to another level here. They just give you a lot of the good, fun stuff that you loved about the first movie, and give it to you here with a little bit of a slightly bigger scale overall, but never to the point where it's overpowering you in your enjoyment of the film. I think this is a very fun film, just as good as the original film, very creative, very enjoyable, solid voice cast all across the board. I mean, not much more you can really add to it per se. And I know it's like a huge contrast to the 25+ minute review to The Naked Gun and the 6-minute review for The Bad Guys 2, but really, there's not much more I can really add to this that really hasn't already been said already. It's a very good film. It delivers everything you asked for and then some. And yeah, I highly recommend it. If you love the first Bad Guys movie, you're going to love The Bad Guys 2. So yeah, thumbs up on Bad Guys 2. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait to watch this one again in the near future. And yeah, good movie. Good movie. And a really good way to start the month of August off. We're finally getting into... I feel like the second half of the summer really is where we're going to start to get a lot of the good stuff. Now, of course, next week we've got Weapons, which is Zach Krager's follow-up to Barbarian, which I'm really intrigued to check that out. And then you got Freakier Friday, which, after The Naked Gun, it's just like, Freakier Friday has some big shoes to fill to make sure that the Legacy sequel doesn't start going down this inevitable downward trend, because, yeah, I'm sorry, that movie still does not feel like anything that needed to be made, and it only felt like it was made because of the money and because of the newfound star power of Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan getting back on track. But who knows? Maybe it actually will be worth it in the end. Maybe it's not just going to be a sequel made strictly for the cash, but we will see. But August overall has some movies of intrigue, movies I'm definitely looking forward to, because after that we got Nobody 2 coming out in the middle of the month, and then, we got all these, it's not even new movies, but we also got these reissues coming our way. 40-Year-Old Virgins coming out in theaters again on August 22nd, as is Trainwreck. I like that Universal's bringing these movies back, because they announced the Casper re-release is coming out in October. When are we going to get the Back to the Future re-release for the 40th anniversary Universal? I mean, come on. You got to give us that, at least. But like I said, with some of the other new releases, we got Spike Lee's latest film with Denzel Washington, Highest to Lowest, coming out on the 15th. And then Honey Don't on August 22nd, the new film by Ethan Coen with Margaret Qualley. The 29th is going to have The Toxic Avenger and The Roses and Caught Stealing. So August is looking like a very, very good month for movies. And even in weeks where you don't expect a whole lot, but you see the films coming out, you see the people that are working on these films, and it's just like, okay, you might actually get me excited to see what this month has to offer. So I'm really looking forward to the month of August overall. Hopefully we can continue this upward trend. We don't get as many bad weekends as we had early on in the summer, in June in particular, but we'll see what happens with that. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button. Check out my last review for Fantastic Four First Steps, and also check out our playlist to see some of the other reviews I've done, with over 100 episodes now in the pipeline, and many, many more to come as we continue on with the 20th anniversary celebration of talking about the movies. And we will leave you with a look at movies now available to own on Blu-ray and DVD, and yeah, I had something else, and I completely forgot about it. So, with all that said, thank you so much for watching this. It's been a long day, as you can tell. But I'm getting out of here. I'll see you guys next time. And until then, thanks for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Take care.